This is your go-to podcast for the breaking news across the NFL, while breaking down how this might affect your fantasy team's success. Are you ready to be a champ? Then welcome to Fields of Fantasy.
Welcome to Fields of Fantasy. It's your boy Dowie, and we are back. Last week we did the AFC. This week we are doing the NFC, and we are joined again by Josh. How are we, Josh?
Yeah, good, mate. Excited to be back. Excited for a week closer to the start of the season.
Yeah, college football starts this week as well. So we've got a little bit to whet our appetite. And then obviously, I couldn't keep up with it all last night, but there was more cuts than anything.
Oh, mate, yeah. There was heads getting chopped everywhere. Last night was crazy.
So, if we do make a mistake on this episode, that's not our fault. It's the NFL making so many changes on us overnight.
We keep using that excuse throughout the season as well.
Yeah. Wait until we get to... there's a couple of names in this week I'm going to butcher as well. So, I think we start... So, before we start with the NFC, I was doing my little research on it. Do you agree the NFC is a lot weaker than the AFC?
I think it's a lot closer in who... I think this week's going to be a lot harder to pick because I think it's going to be harder to pick. I don't know about if it's weaker.
So, we're going to start with the NFC East. We'll start with the Super Bowl champs.
Yeah.
So, all our odds are with our partners' fan team. They're in decimals. So, for example, the Eagles are 169. So, if you bet £1, you get 169 back. Commanders are 330. So, you bet £1, you're going to get 330 back. Cowboys are 7. You'll get 7 back. Giants are 23. You'll get 23 back. So, but Fanteam have upgraded their sportsbook, and I promise you, it's the app to be on this year. You can do DFS. You got your betting. Remember though, gamble, be aware. 18 plus. When the fun stops, you stop. So, the favourites Eagles 169. I would say one of their bad moves was they traded CJ Gardner.
Yeah, I think obviously for us, but as a Texans fan, I'm quite happy with it.
I thought it was a stud. I thought it was a brilliant deal for you.
Yeah, definitely. But I think they've looked at, obviously, they've brought in a guard now. They've moved him off the salary cap. I think he did an interview and he was like, he wanted to be an Eagle for life and everything. So I think obviously for him, it's obviously a fuming. I think for Texans, buzzing. But I think it was a bit of a trying to bolster the guard situation. But yeah, I think it was a bit of a mad move, especially coming off how dominant there was in the Super Bowl. I've definitely thought they'd have kept as much of that secondary as they could, especially losing Slay and people like that.
They've lost Williams, Sweat as well. They lost Beck in the O-line. So I would say they've lost some good players.
Yeah, but I think that's what they've replaced. They've brought, I think, is it Green they've brought in?
Yeah.
I think they've brought him in to obviously try and replace Becton at the guard position. And obviously maybe free up a little bit of cap space from Gardner Johnson's his deal. But yeah, I think losing so many key components on the defensive side of the ball, I definitely thought they'd have kept him in the secondary, especially losing the DB sort of or secondary leader in Slay, who is widely renowned as that and kind of help these rookies find the feet from what you see and hear from coming out of the camp.
So, but one thing I would say, they drafted Jihad Campbell. He's a stud linebacker. They brought in Makuba, safety from Texas, very good. And they drafted the great white hope, Ty Robinson, one of the best white defensive tackles you'll see out in Nebraska. So, we all know with rookies, you can't guarantee, but they did draft well. They drafted players who were expected to go early. They got good value. I still think when you look at the Eagles roster, it's probably the most solid on paper in the NFC.
Yeah.
They're well coached. They know what they're doing. Jalen Hurts, Barkley, Brown, Goddard, Devontae Smith. So I still personally have them favourite for the division, and I still think they're probably number one in the NFC as well.
I think they're definitely number one in them scenarios. I think it's definitely for the division and for the NFC. Obviously, they finished second, didn't they, last year, but
Mm.
behind the unbelievable Detroit Lions. But I think they're very good, the Eagles, at knowing when to turn players over. Their turnovers, like you say, the season before, they lost a lot of people, and then they brought in all these rookies, and then they were unbelievable. And they seem to have got this knack of picking up talent late on in the draft, and where no one else wants, like, no one else would pick them. Like, no one wanted Jaden Carter, and now he's probably renowned as the best prospected defensive lineman in the league.
Yeah.
How dominant he was. Like, I reckon Patrick Mahomes still having nightmares after that Super Bowl from him. So I think they're very good at it, and it pains me because the Eagles do annoy me at times. And probably more the fans more than anything. Uh, but yeah, I think their player turnover is really, really good.
Yeah, so even though they lost players, they have drafted well, and Eagles are one of them teams. They'll take players who are not fancied because of like personal issues, but they go there, they do a job,
Yeah,
and I just think they're a team. You know what you're gonna get. You know they're gonna be good, and I, that they would be my locked-in favourites for this.
I
So
think
with
they're
them,
similar to the Steelers, aren't they? You know, when
yeah,
I think we said it last week where you just don't want to go there. You don't want to go there on a cold Sunday, Monday night where you know you're going to get beat up on the defensive side of the ball and on the offensive side of the ball and Barkley in that offensive line. You know you're going to be in a physical match and people just don't want to go there and play in the cold.
yeah,
It's quite a hostile environment as well. So,
they can run the ball on you. They can throw it. They got the dual threat with Hurts and Barkley.
yeah, 100%. And no
Yeah,
one's figured out how to stop the tush push yet. So,
the only way that'll ever get stopped is when it gets cancelled.
oh, 100%. It's waiting for the NFL to cancel that, 1,000,000%.
So we'll go to the Commanders, 330. It's not bad odds.
Nah,
You know what still concerns me a little bit with the Commanders? I think coach-wise, Dan Quinn, fantastic coach. He gets the best out of his team. Cliff
yeah.
Kingsbury, one of the best OCs. But Jaden Daniels, I have that little second season syndrome, what Stroud got last year.
Yeah,
Something in my mind tells me that could happen to that Jaden Daniels. They're pretty quiet. They traded for Tunsil and Debo.
yeah, but also they brought in Von Miller at now as well.
That's what I missed.
Yeah, they brought Von Miller in. He's on a veteran deal, so they've brought back Zach Ertz. Like they've brought in some quite experienced veterans to go into into that locker room and hoping then try and help Daniels out. I think behind it, but yeah, I think the Dan Quinn. I think definitely. I think he's a very good coach, and I think probably Cowboys are kicking themselves thinking if we'd have got rid of McCarthy a year before, they could have had him.
They
And things
did
might have
also
looked a bit
draft
different.
Josh Connolly as well. Really good offensive tackle.
Yeah, they've. I think with Tunton on the left and that Connolly will slot in on the right. Is that the one out of Oregon?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he'll slot in on that right. I think they've really sort of bolstered that offensive line behind him. I think they've obviously brought in Debo. They've extended Scary Terry.
They did get rid
So
of Brian Robinson though, didn't they?
yeah, he's gone to the
San Francisco.
49ers, isn't it? Yeah.
I was shocked with that, 'cause I like Brian Robinson.
Yeah, it's still one of my favorite videos when he's walking out to the 50 Cent when he gets
Yeah.
shot.
Like,
But yeah, I still think they're them for me are what I'd probably be looking at the wild card weekend. I think they'd be in and around it, but yeah, I'm not sure about winning the division. I think it's hard.
yeah. So I'll go to the Cowboys. 7-1 is quite attractive odds to me. Now I'm still all in on the Eagles, so I won't use it. But sevens is a nice. It's a nice. So we're gonna obviously they got Brian Schumann,
Yeah.
whatever his name is, as their new head coach. No experience, but he does know the building.
Yes.
So that's one thing you do know. They brought in Pickens, which is a great wide receiver to help
Well, yeah,
Dak and Lamb.
definitely, 100%. I think Pickens is a great deal that they pick him up. Like I think that they've done really, really well to get him in.
Jake Ferguson for me, good tight end. Not elite, but he does a job, doesn't he?
Yeah, look, I don't think he's elite, but yeah, I think he's functional. He's not going to light it up like fantasy wise or anything like that, but he's going to get some decent reps, some decent touches, especially I think when you've got them two out on the when you've got sort of your Rex and your Wires, Debo, not Debo, CD and Pickens. He's, I mean, that open at the middle of the field might be open for him. So
an issue for me, what they have, Micah Parsons is obviously a big issue because he's been offered the most money for a non-quarterback now.
yeah,
He hasn't signed it, and he said it's more for money. I still think he ends up a Cowboy.
I think he does. And I watched that interview with Stephen A. Smith and stuff like that. Obviously, other podcasts are available. But where he's with Jerry Jones, and he's kind of saying, like, no matter what happens, he's there for 3 years. He's got a year left on his deal, his rookie deal, and they can franchise tag him for 2. So he might be sitting there holding out. But I thought about it the other day, and I've said it to a lot of people. I was like, it doesn't matter if he wants more money. He lives in a state where it's tax free. So why are you going to go somewhere else? If he goes to the Rams or he goes to the Chargers, or he goes to all these other teams that might be bigger markets, he's paying stupid tax. Like you're in a state where it's tax free, so that money's yours. Like Jerry wants to give him a deal. In the interview, Jerry's like, it was meant to be a conversation with them two. Then he's phoned up saying, "Don't talk to me anymore. Talk to my agent." It's kind of just, I don't think he seems a bit of a dumpster fire in there, to be honest, with this whole situation. It's kind of, but I'm always the theory in any sport. If someone says they want out, get rid. You
Yeah.
just bad apple in the locker room.
Look, I love Micah Parsons, one of my favourite defensive players. I personally, I still say, my opinion on it, he will start and he'll be a Cowboy at the start of the season. That's my guess. We was going to get him on the pod, but I was busy on holiday, so he went to
Yeah,
Stephen Smith instead. So that's
exactly.
it for
That's
him.
yeah. He's lost.
So, but I will say they drafted well. Tyler Booker, best guard in the draft.
Yeah,
The Cowboys, they'll lose a guard and then they'll just replace it with someone as good.
yeah.
They got the edge rusher Ezekiel. Probably sounds nothing like that when you hear it on TV, but he's very good. Ravel
Yeah.
Jr., great cornerback. He was someone I wanted. So they did draft someone else who I'm going to mention, but I'm going to mention him in this phrase because the running back's an issue to me. Miles Sanders, when he was at the Eagles, broke so many fantasy teams for me.
Yeah.
He then went and had that comeback here at the Panthers.
Yeah.
Looked really good, and I never drafted him, and he did good. Last year, not so good. Javonte Williams was one of my favourite running backs in his first year. Got the injury. Didn't look the same last year.
Nope, not the
And they
same player.
drafted Jaden Blue.
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel confident in that running back. And
No.
Cowboys have always been a run-first team. Zeke was always talisman, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think you at times you've got to take the ball out of Dak's hand. Like I know Dak can make some good throws and stuff like that, but how many times has he thrown games away for the Cowboys when he thinks he's some gunslinger and he's not that sort of run first has always been the Cowboys' identity. When you go back, like obviously I started watching the Netflix documentary and they didn't really kick on until Emmitt Smith walked in, and it has kind of been their blueprint from the 90s. They've always had good running backs throughout the years that have come in and done really well. And I think they haven't got that. They haven't got that premier sort of running back in when you look at that division. And you look at the NFC as a whole. The top teams have got very good running backs can that can feed off. And I just don't see them being able to do that. You're putting a lot of pressure on Dak to be able to win games and get the ball where it needs to be.
Yeah, it's interesting. One thing I will say with the Cowboys, Jerry Jones has 100 Papa John's franchises. Papa John's or Domino's?
Domino's,
Yeah,
gotta be.
I'm the same. Just think if he got them Cowboys a bit more money, he could have got Domino's instead of Papa John's.
If only when he flipped that coin and lost that 300 grand, could have brought him.
So I do think the Cowboys at sevens is pretty good odds. I don't think they're a bad team, to be honest. If Dak stays healthy, they're going to be competitive. They're not as good as the Eagles, so the sevens I wouldn't lay it, but I think it's attractive odds. But 23-1 on the Giants.
Yes, it's going to sound really mad and you might think I'm nuts, but I still think the Giants finish ahead of the Cowboys this year.
Ooh, I don't.
I think
I don't know actually. I
I
like
think
Dayball.
yeah, I like their ball. I think they've got obviously they keep Dexter Lawrence fit. They've got Brian Burns. They've drafted I think really well. Like they brought in obviously
Abdul
Abdul
Carter.
Carter.
He's a
Again, so you got three studs on the pass rush. I think they've improved what like, they had a young secondary that have got years worth more of experience. I think Jackson Dart looks a stud, but he's going to sit behind Russ. Great veteran to come in for a year. Malik Neighbours, one of the standout rookies of the year. I think that Scattermoo at the running
Scatterboo.
back, he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be an unbelievable running back, but I think he's going to be a threat. That kid looks like he's running for his life.
Yeah, I
Uh,
like him. I do. He's one of the. When you think of running backs, there's not many great white running backs, is there?
no, no,
CMC.
that's probably about
Think
it.
after CMC, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But I think like you look at they've moved that Evan Neal into the guard, and apparently during the off season and some of the preseason games, he looks a lot more comfortable at guard instead of tackle. So I think Don Dayball's got this is he's got a year, and I think he's going to be coaching for his life. I think with everything that's going on around the Cowboys and stuff like that, I just think that the Giants are kind of flying a little bit under the radar. And I think I kind of like what they've done in the draft. I think they've been kind of sneaky,
Yeah.
and
They
and
put
then
in
I've
Javion Holland as well. Good for them.
exactly. He's very good in the secondary. He's gonna probably lead that secondary for him. Um, so look, I put my neck out on the line a little bit, but I think they're going to surprise and upset a few people. And I do think that if they can get Russ
Russ
playing,
cooking.
yeah, I think if they can get the running game going, they've got threats out wide now. I just think that even that defense is gonna. We said it last week that defenses keep you in games. They win you games, and I think they've massively improved that in the off season.
My hope for him is Russ gets injured and they bring in Jamie Winston. Jamie Winston is my favourite person in the NFL. I root for no one as much as Jameis Winston to be elite star. Did you see when he was at the Super Bowl doing all that content?
Yeah,
Incredible.
I'm very surprised. I thought he would have stuck at that, and I was surprised when they signed him, especially to I think it was 2 year, $8 million sort of deal. And realistically, he's probably going to go in there and be the third string quarterback because Jackson Dart's going to be two getting reps, leading the practice squad. I think Russ is going to start week one, so I think they've brought Jameson in really to be a locker room guy. He's going to go in there. He's going to try and get around some of the players and support them. So I
He's
do
gonna
like them.
just do a prayer before every game and pray they win.
Yeah, he's going to start eating his W's and stuff again. So yeah, I'm interested to see how the Giants go this year. I do kind of like them. I do think they're kind of sneaky under the radar a little bit. Don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I do think they're going to win a lot more games than they did last year.
Okay, so you're putting your bet on. You get your fan team app open. Who do you put as your divisional winner?
Got to be the Eagles.
Yeah, lock them in because that's where I'm at. So then we'll move to the NFC North, and I think this is the probably strongest division this year,
Yeah,
and I think it's the hardest one to bet on. So we'll go with the Lions 2.43. It's
yeah,
pretty good odds to be honest. Green Bay 350, which I like. The Vikings are 430 and the Bears are 6. So we'll start with the number 1 seed last year, Lions. Now, for me, their biggest hurdle is going to be the coaching.
oh yeah,
Ben Johnson gone to the Bears. Everyone said he was the best offensive coordinator in the game. We will see.
yeah,
We'll see how the offense changes. They lost their defensive coordinator to the Jets, Aaron Glenn, who did an amazing job because we know they're not the most talented on defense, but he got the best out of them.
yeah.
Possibly one of the most fun teams to watch last year.
I definitely think so. I think there's the way that some of the trick plays and stuff they were fun to watch, but I thought their whole season they were one of the best teams. I think the Aaron Glenn thing, losing him, not so much even the coaching, but he was one of the culture setters. Like in that group with Dan Quinn, he was Dan Quinn's right hand man. So I think losing him out of the building's massive, but the coaching's going to be. They haven't really lost anyone. They've kind of kept people around, but
Yeah.
I
I was going
think
to say, off season they haven't done a lot.
No.
They drafted defensive lineman Williams, a guard Tarek Ratledge, and they drafted the wide receiver Isaac Tesla. But he wasn't even on my radar. Some
No.
people said he wouldn't even get drafted, so they overreached on him. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm just not sure on the Lions this year. And I think everyone
Yeah.
has rooted for them the last few years. We all want them to do well, don't we? You know, like they're not a team people hate. They all seem to kind of get behind, but I just, to be honest, I don't know how I feel about them because I think the team's good enough. I'm just, with all the changes, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think the coaching's the biggest question mark. I think we know what the players can do. Obviously, Aidan Hutchinson coming back from his broken leg is going to be a massive thing for them with the pass rush. I think they lost that, like, especially going into the playoffs. They couldn't get them third down stops, and that's ultimately what the Commanders kind of capitalised on. So I think the coaching's going to be their biggest question mark. We know what they can do. We just
Yeah, they've
don't
got the
know
talent
how
as
they're
well,
going to
haven't
play.
they? Excellent
Yeah,
O line. Goff's nothing special, but he does the job. He knows the job. He gets the best out of Amon St. Ra. You know,
yeah,
you got Gibbs Montgomery, one of my favourite 1-2 running backs.
yeah. I think they're probably the best 1-2 running backs in the league. I don't think any other team's probably got that caliber of two running backs that are both of them could go to any team and be running back one. So I think to have both of them is obviously unbelievable. Obviously you got Jameson Williams out on the outside as well. So
Mm.
obviously Laporta, he had a bit of a quieter year than he did in his rookie year. So he's going to come back with a bit of a vengeance. Offensive line have kept pretty similar. Like they all know each other. Um, it's just who's going to come in there and are they going to give Goff still the ability to get the best out of him?
Yeah,
So, but yeah, I think that's the hardest thing for them. I think that's probably the biggest question mark for a lot of people, even Lions fans, is how they're going to perform after a 15-2 season. The expectation's really high.
yeah, and I believe the other teams in the division are getting stronger.
Yeah,
That's where my question mark. So we'll go to Green Bay, 350.
yeah,
Green Bay for me, every year we're improving since they lost Aaron Rodgers. I think Jordan Love, is he amazing? No, but is he getting better? Yes. And you know, he's one of them quarterbacks. He can use his legs as well. Not the
yeah,
best of rushers, but you know, he's got that mediocre, hasn't he? He can do that. I think free agency, they got Nate Hobbs in at cornerback. He was a Raider. He was one of my favourite Raiders. I believe we've downgraded since losing him. They got Aaron Banks, the guard from San Fran. Very good.
yeah,
Um, First year, I'm not going to say in their history, but it feels like the first year in ever they've drafted a wide receiver in the first round, Matthew Golden.
yeah. And I think from watching him at college, obviously watched quite a few Texas games. He's again a threat. I think he'll be a. They've got quite a under the radar wide receiver room. They're
Yeah, you
not.
got Jaden Reed. I like him.
Yeah, obviously he's Watson still about.
Watson? He's injured, so I'm not sure what his return line is, but I believe I read it was 4 to 6 games he's going to miss.
Yeah, so he'll hopefully come back at the when they go midway through the season. Um, I think the biggest thing that always been with the Packers is they're not really a massive free agent spot. You don't see them signing the top people, but I do think they coach very well and they draft very well and they really coach these rookies to be very good players. Like you look at their side and they're probably signed in free agency a handful of them. A lot of them have come through the draft and have developed them um, and got some real good players out of it. So I think Green Bay are always one of them teams that are just very well coached, very good football team, very good organisation.
Yeah, so I actually do really like Green Bay this year.
Yeah,
As it stands, I believe they're my pick so far, but you may change my mind when you give me your thoughts on the other teams. But
yeah,
you give me no negatives yet, so maybe in
yeah,
Green Bay. I'll go to Vikings 430. Now, I thought they were very good last year. Now they're sticking with JJ McCarthy to start this season.
Yeah,
That's my probably biggest question mark.
yeah. I think seeing him in the preseason and the games that I've seen him playing, he looks very comfortable. Now, how much do you read into preseason? It's kind of every NFL fan. How much do you take from that? What do you take from it? But I also think on the other side, they've signed very, very well. When you go through some of the people they've brought in, obviously they've re-signed Aaron Jones, they brought in Jordan Mason, Rondale Moore, they've brought in Will Fries.
Rondell Moore's actually done there.
Who's it? Yeah.
Yeah, he's out for the season.
Will Fries, Ryan Kelly, Jonathan Allen that they've got from the Commanders was one of like their best defensive tackle. Like you go through it, and I think they've signed very well, but they haven't really lost many people. Obviously, Sam Darnold going after that season was a shock. Not a shock, but more of a probably a disappointment for Vikings fans, thinking going into that year, like J.J. McCarthy's out for a year, they've lost Kirk Cousins, like we got Sam Darnold, what we're going to get, and to get the season that they got from him was pretty special.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. Look, I
but
thought
again,
Darnold was
they
shot.
again, I think in that division, obviously, other than the Bears with the unknown of what Ben Johnson is, they've got three very good coaches that coach their teams very, very well, all in different ways. But I think if McCarthy can get that link up with Jefferson and Jordan Addison out wide, like TJ Hawkinson, that offensive line's good. I think like the Vikings are, yeah, they're a good team. But I think the biggest question mark is what can McCarthy do?
Yeah, my issue with McCarthy is I don't think he's a bad quarterback. But I
Mm,
watched him in college, and at Michigan, they don't ask him to do a lot.
no.
And Vikings running back Aaron Jones is getting on a little bit.
Yeah,
The wear and tear going to start to see this year. You know, these running backs at 30, 31.
yeah.
Not like at Michigan when he had the good running back. Now, I don't think he's bad. I think he can do a job. But do I think he can outscore Jordan Love and Gerard Goff? I don't know. And that's 4 games he's got to play against them, hasn't he? He's got to play them twice.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think
I think they're a
McCarthy.
good team as well. That's
Yeah,
I like them, but am I confident enough in JJ McCarthy?
I think for me it's kind of where do you put the standard of where do you set the bar with Sam Darnold? Can McCarthy get to that? Do you know what I mean? But did they end up with a 14-3 record last year? And Sam Darnold's not a premier kind of quarterback. He had a very good season. But if McCarthy can get close or in and around that, you don't know the unknown of what's happening with the Lions and the coaching.
Mm.
Green Bay, I think, are under the radar. But again, they're a good coach team, but are they any better than the Vikings? I'm unsure, and you don't know what you're getting from the Bears. So for me, I think it's probably a toss up between the Vikings and the Packers. And
Yeah.
I think you've got positives, or you could go either way with it. If I'd probably, for me, probably sway you. I know you're going more Packers. I think I'd sway more Vikings personally. I think the only unknown that you've got in that scenario is JJ McCarthy, who sat for a year, learned for a year, knows that offense the back of his hand. They haven't changed many things, and they've brought him really well. So that's how I that's how I'm going to go. I think I'm more Vikings than Packers, but you might be able to sway me when we come to pick.
Yeah. So we'll go to Chicago now. I actually love what Chicago have done off season. Ben Johnson, you can argue, was the sexiest head coach pick, really, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was. I think any.
After Vrabel, Pete Carroll, who the experienced ones, I think if you're looking at the coaches, he was
Yeah,
probably the most attractive pick. He,
yeah, definitely.
a lot of people believed he was coming to the Raiders, and all the group chats I mean, everyone was really excited by that. And I'm not one of them to be like, oh yeah, he didn't go to Raiders, he picked the Bears. Like, uh, I think he was the most attractive pick. So that's probably the best thing they've done.
Yeah,
The O line, they've brought in Tooney, Jackson, and the centre Dolman. Now,
yeah,
when you look at Detroit, they built that O line. You know, they
yeah,
drafted Saul and that, so he's done that straight away. They
yeah,
brought in the Ed rusher, Odunjabayo,
Yeah,
another one. Probably don't sound nothing like what it is, but he's a very good player. Drafted the tight end Loveland, who was highly respected. We've seen what Laporta did at the Lions, so he's obviously going to try and do that.
yeah, and they
Brought
got
Luke
is
Bird,
Cole Komet still around as
yeah,
well.
still there, very good. I put him in line with, you could argue he's as good as Jake Ferguson, Dalton Schultz that way.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Um, so they brought in Luther Bird in the third as well, very good wide receiver.
Yeah,
They drafted a tackle in. I'll be honest, I don't know much about him, Trapple, but very highly rated. And another underrated pick, they brought in Shamar Turner from the Aggies. Brilliant defensive tackle. So I think off season, I like what they've done. I like the hire. I'm still not confident in Caleb either.
that was literally about my question to you. Then was, what is your thoughts on Caleb Williams, and what do you think his expectations are going into this season after his first year?
So I would say, with the reputation he went into the NFL last season, you could argue he was a bust.
Yeah,
But I did see enough in him to see there could be a quarterback there. I haven't written him off. I don't think he was very good, but when you see certain players and you think, yeah, he can do a job.
yeah, I agree with that. I think last year I was kind of disappointed in how he played. I think even at times the simplest of stuff that you would expect a number one draft pick to do, I think he struggled at. Um, he was very quick to get out of the pocket and not staying there and put himself in under pressure. But yeah, I don't think there's much excuse for him now. I know they've got a new head coach. They've signed really well. They've still got DJ Moore. They've still got Roma Duze. They've obviously brought in Luther Burden the
Burden
third.
got
Like,
they got Loveland. They've
yeah,
strengthened the O line. They've brought in an offensive coach.
that's what I think. That's kind of my question. Look, obviously, I was alluding to the question with you is how much more do they need to give him to be successful? And would you think if he's not successful this year, will it be a situation like Anthony Richardson?
So I think with what they've done now, new head coach, he's got 2 seasons.
Okay.
I don't expect them to win this division just because of the strength of it.
Yeah.
You've got the Lions, Vikings, and Packers, who are three very good teams. So I would expect them to win more games, but in the games they lose, to look more competitive, give them hope.
Yeah.
Give him a year in the scheme under Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's schemes, I don't think, are going to be easy. He does a lot of trick plays.
Yeah. I think I'd say the coach comes in. Obviously, they've obviously backed him on the offensive side of the ball. Didn't think their defense was horrendous. I think they've kind of strengthened in that. Like Grady Jarrett, there's another one that's come in who's very experienced head in that D line. Um, my kind of thing with Caleb is just where our expectations are with him being that number one draft pick, similar to the sort of pedestal you hold Bryce Young with.
Yeah, I
He's
actually have Caleb Williams on the Trevor Lawrence one.
yeah,
They both come in as. No, Caleb weren't as generational as T-Law, but he was coming in high.
yeah.
Like I heard his name years ago. Someone said watch out for him.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think he's probably got 2 years. I don't think he'll be like I think he probably showed a bit more composure to Anthony Richardson. We all knew Anthony Richardson coming into it was an athlete, not a quarterback.
Yeah,
So I think Caleb's probably got 2 years, and I would expect the Bears to see more hope than would have a winning record. I don't know, just
no,
because of the strength of the division. The 6 games there, they could potentially lose them all.
yeah, definitely. I
Like you
think
would
yeah,
never favour the Bears against all three at this start of the season. They might change after 3, 4 games, but I believe every time you did a pick 'em, you would go against the Bears.
yeah. I think it's just because the unknown of obviously we've known some great offensive coordinators. One we shall not name around yourself, but
Yeah, fuck
uh,
Josh McDaniels.
we know some great offensive coordinators that haven't really hit the heights when it comes to being a head coach. So I think although he's a sought after commodity in Ben Johnson, can he bring that sort of head coach presence in there to a team like the Bears, where we know the expectation from the fan base as well. Um, but yeah, I think Caleb Williams, I think he's under pressure this year with everything that's gone around him. I think the expectation's still high, and I think a lot of people, I expect more from him this year
Yeah,
because
you've got
I
to see
think,
at least the hope. That's
yeah,
what it's got to give them hope that they've got
yeah,
that quarterback.
some of them games in them 6 games where you're not writing them off, I want him to carry a team. Number one draft pick, like you said, coming out of college, generational talent. I know some of them are not bust, but he has, for me, no excuse now to not be successful or be more successful than what he has been. People are giving him a year because he's gone to bet the Bears and they're not the best, but 2 years now, the Bears have invested a lot of money into players around him, and I think there's got to be some kind of um, output from the Bears at some point. Otherwise, you're just going to be left with a load of veterans, a load of high contracts, and no production.
Yeah, they've done everything for him to succeed. Like
Yeah,
if I was to grade the Bears off season, I'd probably give it an A. Very
yeah,
good off season.
definitely. I
Everything
think
they've done is what I would do myself.
yeah, I think if you was in there and you said what do they need to strengthen and what do they need to do, they've looks like they've addressed all of them areas. So I think Ben Johnson's come off on the right foot and looks like the Bears organisation have backed in what he needs.
Yeah.
Um, so it just looks. I think the big questions for me are: can Ben Johnson transition from an offensive coordinator into a head coaching role, which I think is quite difficult to do, and not many can do it. You've seen people that have done it and then drop back to be a coordinator. Like we talked about Dan Quinn earlier. Dan Quinn had to do it to then learn. You've seen Brian Flores at the Vikings. Like you see it quite often, like
Robert
where
Saleh gone back to
Robert Salah, yeah, I think Josh McDaniel's gone back to the Patriots as
yeah,
well.
he's
Like
back to the Pats.
so, you see all these people that take that step and doesn't always plan out that way. So I think that's going to kind of be in the same boat.
Yeah, so we look at it now. Lions 2.43, Green Bay 350, Vikings 430, Bears 6. I say we rule the Bears out.
Yeah,
I still think I would go Green Bay because I think Green Bay and Vikings have got probably pretty similar defenses. When I look
yeah,
at the offensive lines, pretty similar, pretty both average to good. Now, I prefer Jordan Love to JJ. I'm more confident in Jordan Love. We know what we're getting with him.
yeah,
Josh Jacobs, running back. Obviously, I'm going to be a big fan being a Raiders fan, but last year I thought it was pretty incredible.
yeah. I think I think the Packers have probably got more of an upside. I do agree with you, but for me, I do like the Vikings. It'd be between them two. So if it's a toss up, I'm happy with either of them. I'd probably go the Vikings,
And it's
but I'm
still
not.
hard to go against the Lions, though, isn't it? It's still difficult.
Yeah, I think the question marks are there though, aren't they? I think
Yeah. They've
that's
got
what
more
probably sways
question
me away.
marks than the other two.
It's the same with the Chiefs. So when we spoke about it last week, like we knew that the Chiefs are always in and around it, but there was a lot of question marks that kind of put us off. And I think that's kind of where we are with the Lions. I think they're going to be good, and I hope they're good because I like watching them play. But I also think like there's a lot of question marks that kind of push me away. Whereas we know what we're getting with the Vikings and the Packers.
Yeah. I just think the only reason I've got to go with who do I prefer? I prefer Jordan Love because I don't know I'm getting from JJ McCarthy. I prefer Jacobs because I think Jones could be done this year.
Yeah,
Now I'd argue you could say they've got Jefferson and Addison, but they've only got you've only got them if you've got JJ McCarthy being able to throw the ball.
yeah, I see what you're saying. I'm happy with either. Like I say, I think I'm more than happy to go with the Packers.
So we'll go to the south. Now this one's probably one of the poorest divisions actually. We've got Tampa at 1.99, which I think is actually very good odds for that. You know, it's
Yeah,
nearly 2-1. Falcons 315.
yeah,
Panthers 520 and the Saints at 15. Start with Tampa. They kept Godwin.
yeah,
So, we've got the Godwin and Evans for Baker. Could argue they've lost the offensive coordinator again, but they lost Dave Canales the year before. They lost Liam Cohen this year. They seem to bounce back from that. I think Todd Bowles gets a lot of stick, but they've been very successful since they've had him.
Yeah,
They signed Hassan Reddick, great player. Drafted Ibuka. Now I don't know what we see from him this year. I think he's a replacement for Godwin because we know
yeah.
they are aging. And then they did draft two very good cornerbacks, Morrison and Parrish.
I think the cornerback was probably their biggest area to strengthen. Um, I think the wide receiver, they've got three very good wide receivers in there. Like I said, maybe Godwin's that bridge player that might look to offload at some point. Um, but yeah, I do like Tampa. Um, but I just think they're in a very poor division and they're kind of the best of a bad bunch. That's
Yeah,
not too harsh to say.
no, it's
Um,
not because like Baker, look, you know how like as a person I love Baker, but as a quarterback I still don't think he's that good.
no, I think when you've got people like Mike Evans, who probably since he's come into the league has had every year he's at a minimum of 1,000 yard receiver, no matter what quarterback goes in there, he's getting open, he's making it happen. Godwin's obviously had a bit of his injury, but I think offensively they've got a lot of weapons that any offensive coordinator that comes in there knows what to do and knows how to play. Their offensive line's very good. Like um, Tristan Wirfs, probably one of the best tackles in the league, um, has been since he was drafted. And I just think Todd Bowles on the defensive side is just an absolute menace.
Yeah.
He's a menace, and yeah, I just think that they're good in that division, and they'll probably be favourites to win it.
And you look at the running back room, Bucky Irving, one of my favourite running backs last year,
Yeah,
and Rashid White weren't even that bad of a running back, and he lost his job. So you got
yeah,
a tag team there, which is very good. K. Dotton always does a job, he's in that middle line tight end. They got Trey Palmer, and who was the other guy, McMillan?
yeah.
Another two good wide receivers, and that's just throwing it into Evans and Godwin. And then you got a Booker in there now.
Yeah, and he looks very good from the clips that I've seen and the reports that when you're doing a bit of research come out there. I think they're very happy that they got him, and they know that you got Godwin and Evans that are aging, and I think they're looking for that successor, and he could be that. And if he's going to go in there and not be expected to get the amount of reps that a wide receiver one will be expected to get off the bat, I think you're going to have a real good player in there.
Yeah, so yeah, I like Tampa. Will this offensive coordinator? I'll be honest. There's two things what can stop them this year: the offensive coordinator, or maybe the Falcons. Now, the Falcons, for me, are that team every year on paper. You think they're going to be good, and they never are.
Yeah, 100%,
You
hundred
look at
percent.
like when they drafted Drake London, you think stud. Kyle Pitts was meant to be the next best thing. The prick who I drafted every year, thinking he's going to come good, and he never has.
Yeah,
Bijan Robinson. Now their biggest area of concern has been pass rush, and they took two in the first round, and they were two of my favourites. You got Jalen Walker, comes in as a linebacker, stroke edge. He's very Micah
yeah,
Parsons.
he's gonna be a
Talent.
threat. He's gonna be a dog, 100%.
And James Pierce is the quickest edge rusher. Bit temperamental. I watched a lot of him at Tennessee last year, but they're two like I'd be confident, for your future.
Yeah.
But I think
Uh,
they've drafted and brought the right pieces, and now they got. Is it DeMarco Ryan? Isn't the head coach?
No, no, it's
No, who is it?
something Morris, isn't it?
Yeah, Raheem
Raheem,
Morris.
yeah, Raheem Morris, yeah.
Now I liked him at the Rams. Um, so they've got the proper coach there. It's just can that offense? It looks like it's going to be Penix as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think Penix has basically been given the job. I think, yeah, he's got weapons as well. Like Bijan Robinson for me, he's like up there, one of the best running backs in the
Well, he's
league.
probably
Like,
RB1 any in fantasy.
yeah, and obviously being a Texans fan, watching him, he's unbelievable. And I think he's going to be a massive help to Michael Penix as well. But I do agree with you. Every year you look at that team and you're like, they've got to do something this year. Something goes wrong. Something doesn't happen. They give Kirk Cousins a lot of money as well. And then
But I
they
would still run it back with Cousins, personally.
yeah, but it's just mad that you give him all that money and then you draft a quarterback in the top 10 of that draft. I think for Cousins going into there, he was always gonna. As soon as he started to not play very good, it was 100%. They were like, get penalty and get penalty. He was on a losing battle from the off, and I think they kind of set. I think they kind of misled him, set him up to fail a little bit. Um, but also, if you were going to back him as wide receiver, what as QB, then I think yeah, I'd have
It,
personally,
it's difficult because on paper I look at it and I love the Falcons,
yeah,
but I've just been burnt by them too many times, and it's just I
yeah,
can't.
100%. I think for me they're always that team on paper that I'm expecting a lot, but something happens in the season. They he just doesn't always plan out that way, and I think again I don't see it being any different this year. Um,
So we'll
but
move to the Panthers. They're quite low for 520. Now they've got a decent young team, to be honest. On paper they've actually got a lot of young talent. They extended Horn, one of the better cornerbacks in the league.
yeah,
They brought in Trevor Mohrig from the Raiders, safety, very good. Rico Dowdle, got him on a good deal, but I wasn't that impressed by him at the Cowboys. It'd be interesting what they do there. They drafted Ted McMillan, which I think will be a good receiver because Bryce Young obviously struggles seeing over the pocket. So when he throws them 50-50 balls, he's a big boy. So
yeah. I think he had a better end to the season. I give him that, Bryce Young. I think he had a positive end to the season, and I think he probably needed that for his career because obviously being dropped and Dalton coming in and then having success, it all stacked up against him, and I think being able to come in and finish stronger last season. They've obviously tried to bring him a wide receiver one. They have got a young side. The defensive side of the ball is very good. Um, but again, I just think as much as he had a positive start, I feel like it's too little, too late for Bryce Young, and I hope I'm wrong. But I
I'm
don't
not
see where he
confident
kicks
on
on.
it. I
No,
think
I don't.
this is make or break from this year.
Yeah, I think it's how he kind of he needs this year. You are right. He's make or break for him. He's got to kick on.
But they drafted Nick Scarrison and Edgy. He's very good. They brought in Travis Etienne's brother, Trevor.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, the Panthers for me, they'll probably be a losing record team. I don't really have any interest in the Panthers to be honest. Not a team I
Nah.
really watch. Um, I don't. They're a team who are probably building for the future. You know what? In a couple of years, if they can probably, if Bryce Young either comes good or they get a quarterback in, they might be building for that. But
Yeah, I think they've got to look say they've got some assets in there as well. They haven't probably got a massive wage bill in terms of kind of with having so many on the rookie deal. So there might be a couple of free agents out there that we can try and bring in. But yeah, I don't think this year they're going to do much. Don't really fancy them.
so we move to the Saints, 15-1. The team who's been in cap house ever since I followed the NFL.
Yeah.
Their best move this season was getting Derek Carr to retire so they didn't have to pay him.
100%. Yeah.
Now, one thing I would say is they drafted Calvin Banks. He was a Longhorns guard. Well, he's the offensive tackle, but they believe he's going to move into guard in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's really good. I like him.
Yeah. I was very, very impressed with him. I think he was probably the stud on that offensive line. Yeah, maybe he'll switch to guard, kind of like what Skabansky did for the Titans, where he was a tackle at college, moved into more of a guard at the NFL level. But I think either where he plays, I just think he's a stud. Very, very good.
But then they also drafted in the second round Tyler Show. Now, as you know, I'm a Texas Tech fan. He was actually at Texas Tech about 8 years ago. That's how old he is. He's one of the
Yeah.
oldest quarterbacks ever drafted, and he couldn't even get the job there. Um, Now, the one thing I do say when they come in a bit older, they're probably a little bit more. Their brains are a bit better. They understand the playbook more. They're a bit more NFL ready. But he's shit.
Yeah.
He ain't a good quarterback. So you got him and
No,
Spencer Rattler right
and
now.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think Spencer Rattler's the answer either. And I think the big thing for them is they haven't really got many young assets. Like you look at the people that they've signed, not just drafted, but Cam Akers, this is like his third or fourth team now. Not really like he's going to go in there
I
behind
actually think he
Kamara.
got cut, last night.
Yeah, I think the Texans cut him. Like, but I think Alvin Kamara is getting on a bit, not really producing the way he was.
You got
But
Chris
they brought,
Olave, who I do really like.
yeah, and then they brought in Brandon Cooks, who again he's
Reliable.
bouncing from team to team. Like, and then you just look through like I think their
Reed
biggest
as
really
well.
off season. I think their biggest kind of off season signage was Chase Young, who was already there. They've just brought him back, but again, like is he the same player that he was when he was at the Commanders and that year where he kind of went to the 49ers, where they went to the Super Bowl? Like I just like you said, I think they're high in cap for their assets. They've got a very aging team, and I think yeah, I think they might need to look at blowing that team up and
I'll be honest with you, they could be number one pick next year.
yeah,
How we spoke about teams, I feel like this is the worst team possibly.
yeah. I at the moment, I think that looking at this, I don't see much happening from the last two teams we spoke about. I think they're going to be up in the probably top four, top five picks in the draft next year. I think the Saints. If I was them in that organisation, I wouldn't even be pushing to try and win games. I'd be looking at who's coming out of the draft next year. I think Arch Manning might be coming. Like
Will
you've
he
got
come out though with New Orleans sitting there in
yeah,
the
you got that Garrett Nutsmeyer who's coming out of LSU. He's got one more year of eligibility. Like, are you looking at someone like that to try and lead the franchise and restart? Like, if I was them, I'd be pushing the reset button massively. Like, I love Cam Jordan, but how much can you rely on him when he's going into his 15th NFL season?
They'll probably be best off just sticking Taysom Hill back at quarterback.
You know he's just going to run everything, but at least you know what you're getting. I think they're an aging team, and I think their only real asset on the offensive side is really Chris Olave.
Yeah, and you know what? They have that curse, don't they? Remember Michael Thomas when I first got into NFL, just come off a wide receiver 1 year, and I
Yeah,
drafted him everywhere. Got injured. Never seen him again.
nah, but again, the power of Drew Brees, like when you've got such a quality quarterback in there that can make things happen, and since then they haven't had that. Like Derek Carr was plummeting from the Raiders, let alone before he went to the Saints. Like, so he's not gone in there. They've paid him a load of money. He hasn't really fulfilled it, but they're one of them teams that probably win more games than what they probably want to as a fan base, as bad as that sounds. Like you want to be tanking and in their situation where they've got an aging team and just looking for high draft picks to be able to rebuild, but they always win five, six, 7 games and then put themselves quite high in the draft, and then they end up like I thought they did well to get the eighth pick because normally they're picking up 13th, 14th, and they're not getting them franchise changes.
Yeah, it's been a bit like Raiders. We win like 5 meaningless games, and then we end up mid-10. You just
Exactly. When you're sitting there going, I think that people were saying it before with it might have been the Panthers or something when they won them games and then they lost getting the first pick, and you're sitting there as a fan base going, if we're going to tank, let's just tank. Like, why are we winning these pointless games at the end of the season?
yeah. So looking at the odds, you've got Tampa 199 and the Falcons 315. What you locking in on that one?
Got to be the Bucks, innit?
Yeah, I'm all over the books on that one. I'm not against the Falcons, and I wouldn't be shocked to see them compete, but I think I am Tampa. I would lock them in.
Yeah,
So
I think the next division is going to be the toughest one for for us to pick. With that
yeah,
or the North, but I think this one's equally going to be quite difficult.
yeah. So we've got the NFC West. We've got the 49ers at 2.55. We've got the Rams at 2.85. So pretty close. Cardinals 520 and the Seahawks 640, which I thought was quite high.
Yeah,
So we started 49ers, lost some players. Banks, Javarius Ward, Jalen Moore, Hufang, Dre Greenlaw, Debo.
yeah,
They brought back Salah as a defensive coach, which I do like. They got the Purdy extension. They drafted Mikael Williams, Alfred Collins to strengthen the D line, Nick Martin left linebacker. So I think they've lost a lot of players, and they've always kind of give draft picks away, haven't they? And just brought in things, but they're going back to the
yeah.
draft method now, and I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't. I love their coach. Carl Sham, one of the best coaches in the game. They got CMC. They brought in Brian Robinson. Ayuk should be back. Ricky Pearsall. They're hoping for.
Yeah, but I just over the last recent years, like every sort of draft, I think they've bust. Like you look at the Trey Lance, that kind of was
Yeah.
the start of the downfall, really, where they give up a lot to get him, and he just was never that. And then obviously Brock Purdy, in, I must say, absolute credit to him. He's come in as Mr. Irrelevant, and then he's got a 265 million contract extension and 181 million that is guaranteed. Now coming in as a last pick of the NFL draft, like where no one expects anything to get 181 million guaranteed. Like I know he's going to a situation like the 49ers, but you've still got to beat everyone out. You've still got to perform week in, week out where the expectations are high. I've got to say absolute credit to him and well deserved. Like I think he's done brilliantly, and I do like Brock Purdy. I think he's a good quarterback in the NFL. Not elite, but I'd probably put him in around that tier below.
Yeah, he's
Um,
like your Kirk Cousins, he's going to come in. Jared Goff as well, right
yeah,
system, right, he'll do
Goff,
the job.
yeah, Goff. I've heard that comparison a lot with Goff, but I think it's hard because if CMC comes back and he's as effective as he has been in previous years without the injuries, absolute threat as
Mhm.
always. But I think yeah, they've lost some big names on that offensive line, and from what they've brought in, they haven't really replaced them. It's a bit of a downgrade.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I'm interested to see how they kind of go. I think tying down Fred Warner to a 3 year extension is massive for him. Obviously, leads the defense. Him and Bosa. Um, so again, but they're a well coached team. So
yeah.
it's yeah, I think it's a difficult one.
That's the way I look at the 49ers. Very well coached.
Yeah.
They've still got some studs there.
Hmm.
CMC. He needs when he's good, he's the best.
Yeah.
Purdy's reliable. Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall shows some talent. George
Yeah.
Kittle's still there. Brought in Brian Robinson as well, which I like the move as well. So they're obviously going to run the ball heavy next year. It's just how they can Salah make that defense with less talent at least competitive. That's what you've got to look at, really.
Yeah. I think they've got to look at it from a sense of their offense has always been a big key part of it. They've always scored a lot of points, and the defense has kind of always supported them. It's not been never been massively elite, but they've had some game changers on there. Like Bosa's an absolute
Yeah,
fearmonger when he's playing, and things like that. But this year, I think there's not much confidence in it. I think Debo obviously didn't have a very good year last year, and they've moved him on. Oyuki's kind of out and out wide receiver one now, and
mm,
how's he going to be where he's at the X and he's coming up against some of the best corners in the league?
yeah,
Can he get free? Can he have that separation without? But I
yeah.
think Kyle Shanahan will coach that into him. I think he's an unbelievable coach.
Yeah, I think this is just probably the first year you wouldn't be confident in him.
No,
I don't have much confidence. I'm just kind of thinking that his coaching will be
yeah,
good enough to make him competitive.
and like I say, they're one of the teams that have probably brought the most in through the draft. They brought 11 picks in through the draft. So the question marks around that is how many of them are going to be studs? How many of them can make that transition from college to the NFL? If 4 or 5 of them can, then they're going to have a good side. But it's how long are they going to take to get back into that sort of get into the NFL mold and get up to where Shanahan is. And people have expectations of 49ers through their success over the last few years, and rightly so. So I'm I'm interested to see what they do. I'm interested to see their progression now. They're kind of in a little bit of a rebuild.
Yeah. So I would say we'll move to their main competitors, the Rams.
Yeah,
Now, 2 seasons ago, we writ them off after they got the Super Bowl.
yeah,
They had that come down, didn't they, from winning it. The following year, we all writ them off. They were really good last year. I really enjoyed them.
yeah. I think they were very unlucky in the playoffs to not beat the Eagles,
Yeah,
especially in sort of Eagles traditional kind of conditions where it's snowing and cold. Like you have a game like that and you make it. I'm not saying the weather is the biggest factor, but it's obviously you're not used to that playing in Los Angeles compared to what the Eagles are.
Yeah.
But I massively, really liked their defense. I thought they were studs last year. They've drafted quite young, and they had a real breakout year last year, more than what you would probably typically think from a McVay kind of offense. Aaron Donald had obviously hung the boots up and the cleats up, and everyone's going, "Oh, they're done." And then they really stepped up to the mark. And I think obviously losing Cooper Cup's a shame, but
What
I
about
also
Devontae
think,
Adams, aren't
but
they
then they
now?
brought Devontae in, so you're kind of sitting there going, "We've lost Cooper Cup." Obviously, very different players, but I think it's definitely going to be Puka Nachua's kind of wide receiver one. Can he go out there and really sort of put a show on with Stafford? Can he have that connection and link up that Stafford had with Cooper Cup?
Yeah,
Um,
you know where I look at the Rams this year, all relies on Stafford being healthy.
yeah,
Because you
because
know he's got arm issues, and they brought in Terrence Ferguson, tight end, who I like. Yeah, I just like Nakua. I like Devontae, Terrence Ferguson's in there. You know, the running back Kyron Williams. You know, he's not the most flashy of running backs, but he comes in. You know, Mac makes any running back good.
yeah, they've got Corum as well, who's the Michigan running back who kind of carried that to a national title. He's probably looking for a bit of a breakout year as well. Didn't really do much last year and stuff. So obviously they brought Jimmy G in as well as the backup coordinator, backup quarterback if something was to happen to Stafford. Now, not saying he's unbelievable, but as a backup, he's probably one of it being that kind of mix of going. He's not a bad backup to have.
Well, you see what he
Um,
did at the 49ers over the years, and their systems are very similar as well. They're all from the same coaching tree, so
yeah, I think they've drafted quite well. I think they've not really lost anyone on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm quite interested to see how the Rams go. I think the more questions are on their offense than their defense, but I think if Matt Stafford can get that connection with, can develop that connection with Natura and get that connection with Devontae Adams, and McVay's obviously coaching the way that he does, I think there could be a threat, definitely a threat in there, and I'm
so
interested to
yeah.
see what they do.
Yeah, I actually have 49ers around pretty even.
Yeah,
I to be honest with you, this is a big toss up for me. See what we think of the Cardinals.
yeah,
They've gone quite good on defensive this year. They signed Josh Sweat, who was unreal at the Eagles, weren't he?
yeah,
They drafted Walter Nolan, good DT. They also drafted in Will Johnson, who was predicted first round and he slid because of injury concerns. But if his injuries doesn't happen, they've got a stud.
yeah, and he was again how much tape from preseason as you say, but he looked unbelievable. Like everyone was kind of questioning coming out of Michigan about what he was going to be like, and I'm very interested to see what he does because he looks very good, very good. As a true
Yeah,
corner, I had him up there. You take Travis Hunter out of the equation, who plays both sides as an out and out corner. He was number one for me. That I thought even the 49ers or someone would have picked higher in the draft. Um,
yeah. Well, when
so I,
Raiders got to second round and he was still there, I was like, just pull the trigger.
Yeah, you've got to. I do think he's going to be like people was expecting to go top 20 in the draft, and if when he fell, I think he was probably one of the biggest surprises for me, just how far he did drop.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how many games he plays this year.
Yeah, I'm hoping they can get him fit, and I'm hoping they can get him performing and playing more. I think that's going to be if they can do that and they can manage him and get him back on his feet and moving and stuff. I think he's going to be very good
He could be
for
the
them.
steal of the draft. If he plays
Oh yeah,
13 games, still.
yeah, definitely.
So, move to the Seahawks, who I thought were quite high at 640.
Yeah, I think again they're one of them teams that just every year people wrote them off, and then they had like Gino had that year. Last year was a bit of a drop off for him, but Darnold's come in like off the back of that season. Can he
Yeah.
continue that?
And
They've
then they
obviously,
drafted in Milrow as well, who's like, he was
mhm.
probably as good as Anthony Richardson in college.
Yeah. He was a similar build, like
They're just both athletes. It's if you can refine that talent.
yeah, and I think that's going to be the big thing. I don't know who the offensive coordinator really is. Their head coach is more of a defensive, come from the right, the Ravens. So can he kind of develop him? He's sort of passing, or is he sitting behind Darnold, learning the game? I don't think it's a bad move by bringing Darnold in. I know he's on a 3-year deal, but it's, what is it, 3-year, £100 million deal they've brought him in on or something like that.
Yeah, but some of these deals they can get out after like 2.
Yeah, I don't like I said, I don't know what options are in there, but I think it's a good scenario to go into because they are always a good coach team. They have been for since I've probably started watching the NFL. Like when the Legion of Boom come in and things like that, they've always been very well coached.
Yeah, so I quite like it. And then you look on the wide receiver side of it, they got Cup and JSN.
Yeah,
JSN looked good last year. Metcalf obviously didn't want to be there. Lockett's aging, so they
I
could
think
be they
it's
could be
the
on an
only
upgrade there, couldn't they? Cup
yeah
stays healthy.
the only question I have for that is I like JSN, but I feel like him and Cup are kind of similar. They both operate better out the slot. So
Yeah,
I'm interested to see who plays as wide receiver one and plays at the X, and and who's going to be the man out there, and then who's going to who's going to play at the slot. I think Cooper Cup at his age, he's probably the one that does that. But can he Jigba Smith shift out there and be that sort of wide receiver one where he's been sat behind Metcalf for a year or two? So I'm interested to see how that develops.
yeah.
Um,
They've got the tag team, Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet.
yeah,
Good running back room.
if Walker can stay fit.
Yeah. They brought in Scantling as well, he could be the deep threat.
Yeah,
He's not amazing, but he has them big moments, don't he?
yeah, definitely. I think Demarcus Lawrence on the defensive side of the ball obviously left the Cowboys in a bit of a sour way. So he's cashed in some big checks that he's got to live up to at the Seahawks. So I'm interested. Yeah, he's a good vet on that defensive side.
They
Um,
drafted a Manua. He was highly rated. Gray's able, good guard. One of the better
yeah,
guards in the draft. So I think Seahawks are going to be your 500 team. But
yeah,
I still think for me looking at this now, it's 49ers or the Rams.
yeah. I think I'm leaning more toward the Rams if I'm perfectly honest.
Yeah, I think I would probably go Rams,
I
just
think
because the amount 49ers are lost, where Rams are probably more consistently there.
yeah, obviously the 49ers are in a little bit of a rebuild. I know CMC is coming back and things like that. But I think the Rams are kicking on from where they was. They're going to pick up from last season. That defense is going to sort of come together a bit more. They've added a few pieces. Offensively, could you argue at this precise moment, Devonta Adams, is he an upgrade to Cooper Cup, depending on the last couple of seasons and Cup's injuries and things like that? So have they more of a threat for Stafford to play with? Like, obviously, Sean McVay is going to be looking at like licking his lips at the opportunities he can have with two wide receivers like that he's got. So, I mean, I am very interested to see what the Rams can do. I think they've addressed some issues that they needed to.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm with you. I would go to Rams. So, ready for the big accumulator?
Yeah,
So, we went with the Bills, didn't we, in the AFC East?
yeah,
Ravens in the North.
yeah,
Texans in the South.
yeah.
We went Chargers, didn't we?
We went outside the box, didn't we? We went Chargers.
Went with the Chargers. We went the Eagles.
Yeah,
I'll leave the NFC North until last. We went Tampa,
yeah.
the Rams. So, Green Bay or the Vikings.
I think we go Green Bay. I think we'll go with you. You're the
So,
leader.
our accumulator, if we was put a £10 bet on that, it
Yeah.
would bring us back £5,837.
Looks like that's a big night at rodeos.
585 to 1.
Yeah.
It's just printing money.
Yeah, I think looking at that, I think they're probably the Chargers and the NFC is what's probably pushed the odds up because you could so many different options you could go with. I think
Yeah,
the AFC is pretty locked in. I think other than the Chargers pick, where a lot of people go Chiefs.
yeah.
Uh,
They're 4.10 to 1. as we
But
stand today.
yeah, I think sometimes you've got to go outside the box, and I think we've done that. But I think the odds on that are quite high. I was expecting a lot shorter odds.
Yeah, to put a tenner on that, 5,800. We could go to Super Bowl next year. Feels a fantasy on tour.
Exactly. We'll be there anyway in the media, sort us out.
So yes, that is us done this for this review preview. So next week we will be doing, I believe, a fan team episode if they sign us up in time. So remember, fan team, if you're listening, you gotta get us in by next week. If not, we'll go to nearest competitors. But yes, thank you, Josh, for coming in,
Thank you
filling
for
in for
having me.
Johnny B. I don't think we'll ever see him again. I think his ACL's gone.
Yeah, I've heard he's retired.
I think he's heard your episode and he said he knows more than me. I'm done.
Old statter.
Yeah. So yes, we will be back next week because NFL's back.
Yes, get in.
So yeah, we will tweet what will the next episode be, but I believe we'll be back with Fan Team doing a DFS episode. We will have links to sign up where you can get maybe a free entry or bonus bets. But we'll tweet them out when the deal is signed. So thanks for coming on, Josh, and we will have you back next week.
Yeah, look forward to it.
So yes, thank you everyone for listening, and we will be back next week. Enjoy college football, get your taste back before the big one returns. Thank
Go
you.
them Longhorns.